I'm happy to have caught my next guest because he's the face and organizer behind the New Orleans Investment Conference. Brien, thank you for having us here.
Glad to be here. Glad to have you participating in this event.
Absolutely, and what a lineup, Brien. You have a fantastic lineup: Sarah Palin, Krauthammer, Carville, Doug Casey. The list goes on. How do you get all these great people in one room?
It's not easy, believe me. It takes about 12 to 14 months of planning just to put this show on. But this is a culmination of it. You can feel the intellectual energy in the hallways. It's just very exciting. A lot of really good information coming from the stage, actually.
Well, what I find interesting about this conference is that there's obviously the investment angle, but there's a big political angle as well. And that's something I'd like to talk to you a little bit about today, Brien, is how gold is reacting to the presidential election. You have an interesting theory there.
Yes, everybody's wondering, well, since we had the announcement of QE3 and that initial surge, gold has been going down a bit and generally trending down. Thank goodness it's up a bit today. But my belief has been that gold's descent has been directly correlated to Romney's ascent in the polls. If you go back and you look at the day after that first election debate between Romney and Obama, when Romney did so well, surprisingly well, gold actually peaked on that day, the following day. And then as the polls started to come in showing him gaining in popularity, then gold was going down. Now, correlation does not mean causation necessarily, but I do think that a Romney victory is perceived at least being near-term bearish for the precious metals.
Now, is that because he's really focused on less taxes, a stricter tax code?
Spending restraint, less money spending, for whatever degree that Obama's policies are blamed for or credited for the run that we've had in the precious metals, then Romney is seen as being somewhat toward the other end of the spectrum.
Right, and he's also said he'd obviously replace Bernanke, so perhaps he'd bring in someone who has a different philosophy than the printing.
Coincidentally, Bernanke has also announced that he wouldn't seek another term. So I think that was just a coincidence that happened at the same time that Romney rose in the polls and said he would not reappoint him.
So many people were concerned about the correction we were seeing in October, but gold is still very high, Brien. What are your thoughts as we're heading into November, which is typically a strong month for gold?
Well, I think there are a number of seasonal factors that are going to help gold. I think that QE3, the reality, we're just getting past the hype of it, and you buy the rumor, sell the news aspect. I think the reality of that monetary inflation is going to start hitting. I do think we need to get past the elections. I think if Romney wins, that'll be near-term bearish for some period of time as the speculators withdraw. But I think the fundamental forces are behind higher gold prices over the longer term.
Okay, interesting, because you have many Republicans here speaking at this gold conference, but they might be hurting the metal.
Oh, exactly, and it's a matter for them of voting your heart and mind or voting your pocketbook.
So, Brien, what trading range are you looking at for gold within the next 6 months?
Well, again, I think it depends on the election. Frankly, I think if President Obama is reelected, I think that it's kind of the green signal for gold, and I think we could challenge the highs of around 1920 before the year end.
Okay.
If Romney's elected, I think we probably trade sideways. There's some interesting technical patterns going on, kind of a cup and handle pattern going on. I think if Romney's elected, we probably trade sideways for a while and eventually challenge those highs, but probably not till early next year.
Right. You're not the first analyst to mention this cup and handle pattern that we seem to be in, which is obviously a U shape, and I wish I had a pattern here right now to show our viewers, but what point are we at in that cup and handle formation? Are we
just forming the handle? And interestingly, if you look at the last time we had a cup and handle formation like this, it was coming out of the 2008 credit crisis in the U.S.
Interesting.
And what's formed this formation has been the 2012 fiscal crisis in Europe.
Right.
So there's a direct correlation there. Now, are we going to have a similar performance afterward? We can hope so, because after 2008, the quantitative easing to get out of that credit crisis drove gold up 144% from trough to peak.
Year end will also see the news of the fiscal cliff emerge. Do you think we're going to go over that cliff, Brien?
No. We may go a bit over the cliff and be saved at the last second by retroactive legislation. But my feeling is that that is going to go to the end. It's going to be brinksmanship. I think most investors and I think the markets will recognize that that won't happen, and there will actually be some extension at the very least, so that the threat is put off. They're going to kick the can down the road, in other words.
Okay. Finally, just some thoughts on silver from you, Brien.
If you love gold, if you like gold,
Love silver.
you have to love silver.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay. So bullish on silver as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your thoughts today, Brien.
You're welcome.
And thanks for watching our coverage from the New Orleans Investment Conference. Stay tuned to Kitco.com for more videos from the show.